Hey everybody, welcome back to the whatever this is. Anyways, this is the Bad Batch after show. The Bad Batch is back, and so are we. Maybe you haven't seen our faces together in a long time. So here we are. We're back on the All Star Wars YouTube channel just for a little reunion fun. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about everything that happened in the premiere episodes. We're gonna talk about stuff that we liked, that we didn't like so much, and helping me to do all that here, we have just special guests, and I'm gonna just jump straight into it because we have lots to talk about. We have 2 episodes to cover, so lots of feelings and all that to go around. So starting off with the host of the Way Seekers podcast. This is the Way Seekers, Austin, also known as Star Wars editor. Welcome, Austin. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on. You mentioned earlier how, this is kind of like a reunion. So it is cool. We're all a little older, feeling a little bit like that time jump between Bad Batch season 1 and season 2. I feel like Omega, my hair is longer. You guys are here, got our father Mike. So I'm excited. I'm excited.
All
So
right, cool. Thank you for coming on. Yeah, it is a reunion. Compare this to the previous videos that we've had together, and I'm pretty sure the last video posted is literally a Bad Batch announcement video. So, and I did that with Aeden here. And speaking of Aeden, actually, our friends call him Darth Deacon. Darth Deacon, what's up? He's also known, proclaimed self canon expert, or are you still the canon expert? I don't know,
I
but
don't know,
how
man.
are
I've
you?
been out of the loop for a little bit.
Yeah.
Got some catching up to do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, welcome aboard, and it's also awesome to have you because you're also you've been a long time Instagram friend of mine and just overall friend. So it's cool sitting here and experiencing Bad Batch. And like I said, we covered that announcement way back when, and season one to me was something that I liked very much when I was watching it. Yeah, there was bumps, but overall, I just liked it. It was Star Wars every week. I mean, we were in the middle of the pandemic. I mean, it was just also summertime for a lot of us, and Bad Batch was coming out every single Friday, so that was fun. And I watched most of the episodes with these guys sitting here, and we would just stay up and watch them and have a good time and just laugh and stuff. So it was fun. And yeah, we made a lot of Sid jokes and stuff, but I feel like even then it just still hasn't stopped. But I actually got to watch the episode with Austin here, the 2 episodes, and literally it went back into the hijinks of Bad Batch, and
yeah.
Austin shouted out and he was like, the Bad Batch is back. And I just started laughing just because it was like the same tropes that we've seen them do for like the 80th time, and the same dialogue, and it was hilarious. So yeah, like I said, overall I'm just excited to talk about this. And yeah, overall, like, I mean, like, I like the series. I don't know about you guys, but I overall like the series. It's Star Wars animation. There's always gonna be something that I like. Even Resistance, I stood up at like till 2 a.m. to watch Star Wars Resistance on the Disney Now app with these two guys here. Like, do you
Yes,
remember all those
sir.
Sunday nights that we would stay up and watch it and then talk about it? And like I think we had like a Snap group chat. We would talk about the episode and stuff. So,
Yeah.
man,
No, yeah.
so
It's crazy how much like we're spoiled nowadays. Like all these episodes come out of Star Wars TV shows, but back then it was like Resistance is dropping like sequel trilogy content outside of the sequel trilogy. Like, whoa, every single thing was like this huge big deal back then. It was like every last drop we could get. Now it's like, oh, it's Wednesday night. Let's tune in for the next Star Wars. It's
it's
like the
that's
rest of the next 40 weeks.
that is so true. That is so true. Yeah, we are spoiled now. So I do take a moment, like, before we even click watch. I was like, I just want to say this is awesome because the last time we were here gathered to watch Bad Batch was August 2021, and now it's January 2023. So I was like, this is insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's start off with Aiden here. Aiden, you watched the premiere. Is it something that you're looking forward to? And if so, did it meet your expectations? Like, what were your overall expectations, and what was the outcome?
It was kind of interesting going into this premiere. Because, like, the last premiere that we had, it was kind of this big event where it was like Order 66 is about to happen. It's such like a big event change, like galaxy changing event. And then going into this one, really didn't have that. It was still really nice to get back in action with this Bad Batch family and seeing these guys interact with each other and kind of like how they've grown over this time that they've been away from us. But overall, I don't know about y'all, but I was kind of a little bit disappointed. It was nice getting a little bit of those more like character driven moments between them, but overall, it was just kind of a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, I feel that. How about you, Austin?
Yeah, I mean, I feel very much the same way as Aiden. Whereas if this was episode 17 of the Bad Batch season one, I probably would have, thought this was good. If this was episode 17 to 18, I would have been like, hell yeah. But for this to be a premiere episode, especially because, like Aiden said, the first season of the Bad Batch had this grand opening. And now here we are, just a little adventure. And I mean, it was cool and all. We saw Sereno again, and we learned a little bit about Count Dooku, just a few things here and there. But it was still cool seeing them. I loved a few things, that I didn't love in the first season, because they added to it, like Echo, for example. They finally gave Echo just a little bit of something, just a little bit of spice. And then I also really felt like I was watching Echo from season 3 of the Clone Wars, like the one we haven't seen. I don't know if that was intentional because, I'm sure that he's definitely changed since season 3, physically, and, I'm sure mentally as well. But, it was cool to see him act that way. Maybe he's growing back into the person he was before. He's getting more comfortable. But yeah, I really enjoyed the story, but I'm just kind of waiting for where it goes. Just want to see where it goes.
Yeah, I have to say same. I agree with both of you. I mean, we actually had a nice chat after the episode last night and we were just talking about it. And I think the best moment for me at the end, by the way, if you're still watching and you haven't watched The Bad Batch, go watch it because we're talking about spoilers, obviously, was when Admiral Rampart killed Captain Wilkin.
Mhm.
I think that was his name. And he
Wilco,
killed
or I
Wilco.
can't remember.
I think I wrote it down actually. Let me see. I gotta before people yell at me. But for real, justice for Wilco. Yes, thank you, Austin. Wilco. Justice for Wilco. That was like the best scene. It almost felt like the ending of Spark Rebellion when Agent Calix kicks that stormtrooper off off Kesso off that platform. And I just that one I laughed. And this one I was just like Rampart. Like I just totally despise this character. And I love that he's written to despise. Like he's a little Tarkin Jr. And I actually love that whole bit at the end where they were like, oh, you know, I can't, I'm gonna kill him so I can, not show Tarkin that I failed in that area, that the Bad Batch is still alive, Clone Force 99. So that
Right.
was really like the highlight of the episode, the two episodes for me. And I just want to say, like, it is kind of disappointing. I think Rebels, like, I don't really blame Clone Wars for this because Clone Wars is an anthology series, right? You get you could start off on like the middle of adventure, like it felt like we were when Ahsoka got punished by the council for disobeying orders at the Battle of Felucia. So you could
Mhm.
get like a middle of adventure type thing because that actually felt like a continuation from like season one. It could have felt like an episode from there.
Mhm.
But to me, I think Bad Batch is, I don't know, like as Aiden mentioned, Aftermath was such a, I don't know, like I still say, and I don't know if it's a hot take or not, but I think Aftermath is the best Star Wars series opener. I just think compared to the first episode, Mandalorian, loved that episode, but Aftermath was, it got you in all the feels. I know that Caleb Doom contradiction. We're still mourning, but everything else was just on beat for beat. Everything was, there was emotion. Even the Saw Gerrera stuff in there was great. I thought the music was stellar. I think the only thing was some sequences. The only complaint I have, some sequences were like a little bit too long. And I think that was just a training sequence, just because when you have, and this is actually a complaint for the rest of the Bad Batch, when you have a conglomerate like five of these guys just huddled together shooting at things, it's a little dizzying. And that's
Mhm.
exactly how I felt this past episode, where I was just trying to keep up with the action and I didn't know who was shooting at who and what was going on, and it just felt like meaningless battles. So but with all that said, I think that with premieres, I expect something, especially when they announce, oh, it's going to be a 2-episode premiere. I'm like, oh man, we're going to eat good. And
Right.
unfortunately, there's lot left to be desired. And yeah, my stomach, when I like watching, or when I watch Star Wars, I do like me a good appetite, or I do have myself a good appetite for a good meal, but overall, I love the emotion in Star Wars, and I want to be left, feeling satisfied and stuff. And man, it's like Bad Batch. I'm gonna say something that Aiden could probably relate to, but some of these Bad Batch episodes are like hit or miss, like some of the comics. Sometimes I'll read the comics, it'll be like a good story going on, and I'll like totally be invested in it, and I'll be like, oh man, that was a good comic. I'll definitely come back and read that again very soon. There's some comics where it's like, what was that? And I just feel like there's so many, like, I just feel like Bad Batch episodes are just manufactured. Like at this point, like I'm just like, okay, great. You could have condensed this to a 13 episode season, probably would have hit better rather than having like how many 16 episodes, and
16
yeah,
episodes.
16 episodes. What a long time. But yeah, anyways, so yeah, not my favorite premiere, probably my least favorite premiere ever. Maybe I would pair it up to like season 2 of Resistance opener. Like it was just lackluster. It was like that here, but there's still some things to like. But anyways, let's jump in at the beginning with. I thought they would have left Sid, even though we saw in the trailers. I just one thing, and I don't want this to become like a rant for the show, but I just want them to get off. What planet are they on?
Ord Mantell.
Ord Mantell. There we go. Thank you. They're on Ord Mantell, and I feel like the series would get better if they left Ord Mantell, because then you change the whole we're doing missions for Sid type thing. And I was like, oh man, here we are again. We're doing missions for Sid, and this one turned out to be pretty fun. Like I was like, they're going to Sereno. Hunter wasn't on board, and then they're gonna do it anyway. And then we meet Wanda Sykes' character, which I thought she had a funny moment where she called like Echo clueless or something. Like I would laugh out loud. I was like, okay, that's funny. Because we all know Sid has nicknames for all the clones, but I thought Wanda Sykes' character was just like and clueless right there. I was like, and the facial reaction he had, I just died. And as Austin said, then Echo has like this moment where he just voices his opinion to Hunter, and he's like, no, like, and it just felt like he had that clone voice that we heard him have in Clone Wars. And I was like, yes, like we've been needing this from you. Like, okay, great. So yeah, the beginning was, I was a little shaken because I'm like, oh man, Sid. But once we got it moving and we're going to Sereno, I was like, oh yeah, heck yeah. I did a whole Clone Wars marathon for this, and yeah, I was just excited to be on Sereno. But so when I watched the Sereno episodes in Clone Wars, I'm like, we're gonna be there in Bad Batch. And I'm gonna say, like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm like, this could have taken place on any other planet, separatist planet. Like, you just could have. I mean, I like the Dooku stuff with the older man that happened, but overall, it was just, it just felt flat. There wasn't really anything like that I felt satisfied by, and I was like, this felt like empty fan service. Like, oh, we're gonna show them. It looked like raiding Dooku's palace, in the trailer and stuff, and everybody went crazy, and that's all we got, folks. We're never going to Sereno back again. But Austin, why don't you tell us about what you felt about that whole first sequence and such of getting to Sereno?
Yeah, I mean, I think Sereno, it kind of represents one of my biggest issues with this series, which is that it wants to both be a Bad Batch series about the crew, the Bad Batch, which are pretty cool. I mean, I don't know if they could carry a whole show on their own, but then it also wants to be a Clone Wars continuation. And I feel like this is the same thing where it's like, okay, seeing Sereno and seeing that Dooku took the riches from the people of Sereno, he was a corrupt politician, getting to learn more things like that is cool and all, but that benefits the Clone Wars, that benefits the prequels. It doesn't benefit the Bad Batch series, and I feel like it takes away from what's going on with the Bad Batch, because what we got from the Bad Batch was just them going on this mission, and it felt like they did the same mission 6 times throughout these 3 episodes, chasing after a fucking box and then getting the box for somebody else. And that repeated itself about 6 times, but I think it was cool. Like I said, it's cool learning those lore things, but it benefits the Clone Wars. This show, everything it does, it's meant to just show what happened after the Clone Wars. So I wish they would have just done a show called like The Dark Times or something like that. Like make a continuation of the Clone Wars. You could have had the Bad Batch play a big part, but I'm just kind of like, everything that I think about, especially like these 2 episodes, it doesn't really matter what the Bad Batch did. It's just more focused on a lot of other things, and I feel like this episode really showed that.
Right, right. And I agree with you. I honestly don't think they could carry their own series. I mean, I do like the characters. Like, I mean, I have a Record Black series right here with me. I mean, I actually really like the characters, but overall, I don't
Mhm.
think they could hold their own series. And it's like I feel the same about the Martez sisters. Imagine you gave them their own series.
Yeah,
I would get so annoyed so fast, but I think if they had
right.
a continuation Clone Wars series, but then have them in the mix, I would have loved that. I think if they had their another follow-up arc, I think that would have been great. But Aiden, what did you feel
Right.
about the Sereno thing? Because you are the canon junkie, and I'm sure you like this lore type stuff too. Like I do.
Yeah,
I love stuff like this. So how did you feel about the whole Sereno stuff?
I really thought that Sereno was cool. I just thought that they were gonna wait until later in the season to see that. I didn't think it was gonna be
Same.
the first thing that we saw, and I was hoping that was gonna play like a big role, but unfortunately it didn't. It was kind of nice though, like the timing for this. Like we just got Tales of the Jedi, and we got all that Dooku stuff, and then we actually got to see like the aftermath of what Dooku. And like, yeah, you guys are right. Like, this is just the whole purpose of the show. Seems like it's gonna be just to show the aftermath of the Clone Wars. And it seems like we're just gonna keep getting that. As I said, they're gonna go to more of like a story arc structure more than like the overarching narrative. Because like
Mhm.
obviously we know that Gunji's gonna be in it later. We're gonna see the Padawans. We're gonna see a lot of like story threads that didn't get tied up in the Bad Batch. And yeah, that might not be what we want from it, but it's just we gotta accept that that's what it is. And
Mhm.
I enjoy it because of the characters. Like as I said earlier, I'm happy that we got those like individual moments. I'm happy that Tech got a lot more like he got a lot more screen time than he usually does.
Yes.
You know, obviously we were saying, and I think if they can keep building on these like character driven moments and have the little aftermath of the Clone Wars stuff sprinkled in, I feel like the season could be a lot of fun, even if it's not what we were expecting it to be.
Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. I mean, I sat with our friend Star Wars dude True at Celebration when they showed us all the Bad Batch stuff that, they didn't show you guys on the stream, right? Any trailers or anything? It was just they showed
Uh,
it to people at
they showed
the
a different trailer.
a different oh yeah, that's right. They showed a
Yeah.
different trailer. So I was sitting there with True and I'm like, oh, I'm not really excited for this Bad Batch panel. And I think Ari had my friend over at the Stars Exchange. I think he had kind of forced me to go or just been like, nah, come on, like just come through. I was like, all right, like let's go. And I sat there being like just open-minded, and it was really cool seeing Dee Bradley Baker do the voice of the who does the voice of the clones do a live performance, and same with Michelle Ang, I want to say her name is, who does Omega. They both had like a scene, and they it was just amazing. D. Bradley Baker switching between the Bad Batch members and then having Omega there, that was just insane. And I felt like, that was a nice treat for all of us. And then they showed us the trailer, which, we're kind of expecting. And I was blown away because as Aiden just mentioned, Gunji's coming back. And I just went berserk, and I'm just like, that is so cool that they're continuing, some of the Clone Wars loose ends. Because even we see Kashyyyk in the trailer, and Kashyyyk is going to be was going to be an arc in Clone Wars with the similar looking animals that the Bad Batch had. And actually, Bad Batch was gonna be in that arc,
Mhm.
if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. They were gonna be
Yes.
in that arc. It was gonna be them and Kashyyyk. So it's pretty cool seeing that come full circle. Even we see the Trandoshans that were in the I guess like in those unfinished animation reels, so of what had been shown before. So I'm like, oh man, that they're really continuing Clone Wars here. So yeah, I am excited about all that. Like this is what I want that show to be, but it's just the focal point that we are with here with the Bad Batch. I'm just a little like, I don't know. It keeps getting muddled, and it's supposed to be. I don't even like the dark period era. Like I'm not like, oh, it needs to be dark and broody. But I think something along akin to maybe something Jedi Fallen Order, like that was a perfect balance between pure heart, charisma, but also having like that darkness and it was just I thought that was a perfect balance of things. And actually, one of the writers from Fallen Order, Matt Mikovitz, he's a writer for the Bad Batch. So I'm just like, I want that balance. I want that balance from that they had in Jedi Fallen Order. Because again, I don't want things to be too dark. But yeah, I there's moments in this episode that I did love though. So I want to highlight those. I mean, I love that like Pinocchio father look-alike. What's his name? Geppetto, Geppetto, something like that, isn't it? Aren't y'all Disney fans? Aiden, don't you have a Disney membership to Disney World?
Nah,
Not
I'm
not
gonna
anymore. Not anymore.
I can't
Okay.
remember. I
Is
even
it
watched the new
Geppetto?
Pinocchio,
something
but
like that. He's a toy maker.
Well, the toy maker, but he reminded me so much of him, and I did love those moments between him and Omega. I mean, that was pretty cool. Seeing, I mean, one thing that we said yesterday, Austin, was that it feels like there's no stakes here, though. Like, I remember
yeah.
there's like the bad because I want to say like I actually did like Tech a lot in this episode. When he got injured, I was like, it kind of brought him down on his I don't know, like he's just all over the place sometimes for me, and just calmed him down where he even was slower in this episode. I don't know. So
Mhm.
I thought that was funny when he had a hang back this time, and usually he's up in front and trying to figure out like tactics or whatever, and he was just hanging in the back with the old guy, and absolutely loved all that. But like I said, just the action just drives me insane because there's first of all, it feels like no stakes. I don't care if none of them die, or if I, even if Dave Filoni came over here and was like, none of the Bad Batch members are gonna die this season. Like you could still make it a riveting action sequence where I'm like, there's Perro and stakes and all that, but there's just never anything of that. I'm trying to figure
Mhm.
out who's shooting at who, why they're shooting at each other. It's just, and it's always the same blaster fights, and I'm just so bored of it. But they visually like I like seeing like I mean, it's just stunning seeing the clone troopers run around and shoot. Like it just, the animation is just amazing. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's really clunky action. But I think so for the first episode, it ended on such a weird note because at that point, I think it should have just been one episode together. I was just left like, I thought we were just getting started, even though it was like 24 minutes or I guess maybe like 22 or something with Disney credits. But yeah, I was just like, I was just left hanging like, oh man, that that I was just
Yeah.
expecting more. I just felt like we just got on Sereno. And then also
Mhm.
Omega, Omega, people complain about Omega being annoying and stuff. She has never like really annoyed me. I think she's, if anything, for season one, I felt for her character, and I felt sorry for her and whatever. But in this episode, I was slapping my head at points because I was so frustrated with her eagerness. And I get it. She overheard Echo talking to Hunter about her being, in the way and her being a burden. But it was just like, oh my God, this old man just talked to you and told you that don't go for the treasure, leave it behind. It's dark treasure. It's looted from other planets that Dooku and his droid armies pillaged, and Omega still is just blockhead trying to go for the treasure. So Austin, I mean, were you annoyed by Omega? Has annoyed Omega, I'm sorry, ever annoyed you? Like, was it peak here? What's your take?
I mean, I'm I've never really been that annoyed by a character, and I feel like Omega is very much that the Ahsoka, the Ezra of this show. That in the future she's probably going to be like one of the best Star Wars characters. But as of right now, it's a little shaky. I think that what annoyed me more about this whole thing going on with Omega's the reason that we've changed is that this is the 17th episode of the Bad Batch, 21st if you count the first 4 Bad Batch episodes. Granted, Omega wasn't in those, but like you'd think by now that they would be accustomed to Omega being there, understanding what their purpose is. And I feel like the show even shows their purpose. The whole reason they're going to Sereno and getting these riches is so that Sid and the other people there can retire, knowing that the Empire is going to come in and shut everything down. So that's the whole reason they're trying to get riches, is so that they can start thinking about retirement. So it shows that they already care more about others. Like they're not just out there surviving, they're out there actually helping others. I feel like they've gone through that arc already. And so it's kind of just annoying to see it over and over again. I would love if they focused more on like Tech teaching Omega. I think that's interesting, but then it's kind of just like it's boring to me because then Omega learns something. 5 minutes later, the ship that she just learned about is flying through, and now all of a sudden they need to fight it. And it's like, come on, like you have 16 episodes. You rush things like that, but then you just don't go anywhere with the story. It doesn't make sense to me. So I guess Omega the character doesn't annoy me too much, but the way that they treat Omega, like the writers and such, annoys me quite a bit.
Right, for sure. How about you, Aiden? How do you feel about Omega, especially in this episode?
I
These
personally I
episodes.
like Omega. I think she's just there's a lot of growth that they're working on. And I like that you see that growth between her and Hunter, where Hunter didn't really want her on missions a lot. But now like in this episode, in these two episodes, you can see that Hunter's like, okay, yeah, it's normal that you're here. It's just
Mhm.
we're gonna have to deal with that and because you're a part of our family now.
Yeah. I thought she held her own. I thought that was already proved in towards the end of the first season Bad Batch because I had just rewatched it right before. I thought that was already proved. I thought they already went through that when I mean there was just multiple missions where Hunter was like when they went to go save that senator, I believe, on Raxus. Omega stood behind because he didn't want her getting in the way or being threatened or whatnot or putting her life at risk. And she has like this own like side adventure there with gambling and stuff, proving her worth. So I already thought that was already like, done with. So it was. By the way, the opening sequence was amazing. Like, just it was just beautiful aesthetically. I was just, I think they had shown us that clip at Celebration or like a part of it, and I was just like, oh man, that looks beautiful. But seeing that in full sequence, it was just nice, and it felt like we were just being thrown into the action, which was pretty cool. And I did like Omega, like just shooting at those lobsters or crabs or whatever. It's
Giant hermit
Giant hermit
crabs.
crabs.
giant,
Yeah.
yeah, giant crabs. That was pretty cool. And she shot the shell and then leaped forward. Like that reminded me of like good old Rebels heist and stuff. So, but when Hunter was like, "Oh, isn't Omega supposed to be back studying?" I was like, what do you? I don't know. I thought we were over his overprotective dad phase, but I guess not. So yeah, I hope we get some conclusion there and just finish it off because one thing that uh we start off with Rebels was that people complained about was Rebels overdoing like the Zeb and Ezra bickering and fighting and stuff. But like the writers were smart enough to like, oh yeah, we're gonna annoy them with this kind of stuff, this brother stuff. And then we're gonna have them have these like this brotherly moment in fight or flight. And then they just like came together at the end and you're like, they still fought throughout the series, they still bickered, but like it was out of love. So I'm just like, man, that was really cool. So I feel like we just need to like get there with Hunter and Omega and just like finalize it because I feel like they'll have like a 2-second conversation with Hunter kneeling down, holding Omega by the shoulder and him talking to her sincerely, and then that's it. And it just nothing
Right.
gets resolved. So
And at the same time, that's supposed to carry the whole show is Hunter and Omega. Their father-daughter relationship is supposed to be the entire premise of the series. So it's very interesting the way that they
it
treat
is.
it.
And then you have Hunter being sidelined with Omega the next episode, and then it's Wrecker and Omega, and then
You're right.
and then the next, and then the next, and man, it's just a rotating crew. I don't know. Like I think this episode proved to me that I'm like I did just I thought I did enjoy it. I for what it was, I did enjoy these 2 episodes, but I was just like, man, this is too much for the writers to handle. I couldn't even imagine handling like these clones. I mean, the Rebels writers handled all the characters pretty well. I thought, there was much to be desired at the end, with Sabine and Zeb, but that was because people wanted to know more about them. And then they gave them like solo episodes in Rebels season 2. But I think I don't want solo episodes with Wrecker or whatever. I just need them eliminated. Like I just need some of them gone away, eliminated. You don't have to kill them off, but like just break it up, man. It's just too much going on. And like I said, how do you guys feel about the blaster fights? Because I don't want to make it a big deal, but for me, I just feel like it's just loud noise. Like there's just no like the tank scene was cool. Like when Wrecker was holding that cannon and shooting, like that was visually awesome. And I think it was just a cool moment. But the other stuff when they're just going and it's the same stuff, Hunter shooting and then talking, Tech, we're gonna need we're gonna need some assistance in sector 5, like 2 clicks away. it's just the same thing over and over again. So it's just different dialogue every time. But how do you feel,
I'll
Aiden? How do you
say,
feel about this?
man, they need to decide if they want to use their stun blasters on these clones or just absolutely blast.
Yeah.
Because at
Yes.
one
Season
moment they're
7
hitting with
location
their
blaster
stuns, and then at
fights.
the next, Wrecker's just blasting and exploding the clones.
That
That's one
was
thing that
Right.
kind of annoys me.
that was one thing that I was like, they were so brutal. And our friend Pete Ploco made this joke. He's like, I love how they stun every clone they meet, but then they just go have these total brutal moments where they had launched the clones from the speeders, like start shooting at them. So exactly right. Like when do we stun? When do we don't? Because it's pretty clear in season 1. There's a moment that they kind of like stop shooting them and they start stunning them. But then it just depends on the situation. I don't know,
Mhm.
but for real, that's a clear critique because in the Sereno Palace, nothing but stunning and stunning them, and then when they get out to the forest, like let's just shoot them, and I'm like, what's going on? And then Wrecker holding that big old cannon, just shooting pilots out of the sky. So absolutely, Austin, how you feel about that?
I mean, the action scenes in Clone Wars have always confused me a little bit. I mean, just because they're clones, but these people's armors they all look different, and I feel like I still can't tell the difference between like Hunter and Echo when it comes to fight scenes. Like you could definitely see Wrecker out there, but I feel like the other three are kind of interchangeable, and I feel like they don't use their enhancements enough. I feel like Tech is the one that he uses his intelligence a lot, but like Hunter, where's his enhanced senses? Like we don't really see that. Wrecker. I feel like I always feel like they kind of treat his enhancement like comic relief. He's just the big dummy that is super powerful. But yeah, I when it comes to the action scenes, I've always had an issue with those when it comes to Clone Wars animation. Even like lightsaber duels, like Tales of the Jedi, the Mace Windu and Dooku episode. I'm just like, what's
Oh,
going on?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, I agree.
it would get especially confusing, like the Domino Squad episodes where they're all wearing the same fucking thing and they're all out there. I'm like, who's that out there? Who's yelling at who? So yeah,
Yeah.
but I agree with you. It's not easy to follow.
No, it's not. And like I said, I just tune out of it every time. I mean, it seems like they're just shooting to shoot. And I hate to keep comparing to Rebels, but I felt like whenever even there was like these blaster fires, and not just because they were like, you know, all their costumes and whatever, the character designs were like very different, drastically different from the rest. Because Hera, Twi'lek, you could just differentiate easily. But like they actually had cool black, and I think Bad Batch animation is way superior to the Rebels one. I love Rebels animation though, but I just think that aesthetically and everything, Bad Batch animation, Clone Wars style. But like I kind of like the Rebels action sequences more than I do Bad Batch. Like I finally rooted in, I think it was the episode called War Mantle, when the Marauder, the shuttle, had like this cool little like dogfight sequence with the V-wings, and it just like looks so cool. And I'm like, finally we get something cool. Finally, the ship does something, and they have like this cool looking, because the animation's right there. Like you guys have the tools to make great stuff, but it just doesn't happen because of the story. But I have to say though, the music, the visuals, the sound effects, I just feel like they've just never been better in Star Wars. I'm always Kevin Kiner and I think his sons, what they do on this show is just amazing. I'm always just flabbergasted. I just watched the Bad Batch finale, and when they fired upon Camino, that music that kicks in, man, makes you want to cry. So even here, it was riveting action and stuff, and I think the sound effects as well are so like usually like I think Rebels is guilty of this, but that's not their fault because of the limited production that they had. You hear the same sound effects over and over again, and in Bad Batch, and eventually in Clone Wars, when you get to the later seasons, when the production value went up, I feel like it's just these episodes are very cared and tended to. Um, like if they're, tending to babies or something. I just feel like they're very cared for, and you get all these different sound effects. Every time I go on Twitter too, people will call out, "Oh my god, this sound effect of this blaster was from this game from Republic Commando or Star Wars Battlefront 2, like the OG." And I'm like, that is so cool. Like the attention to detail is just precise. And I wish the writing was like that, just because, but again, I what can I say? I had a good time with it. And yeah, I have my nitpicks here. Not nitpicks. I think these are genuine gripes, but it's just, man, I want the show to be better just because it's like, this is what's going to be carrying us from all the way to Mandalorian season 3, and even then some, because it's going to interlap. So I want this to be a fulfilling experience rather than going in and feeling like I watched and not, now no disrespect to the Force of Destiny, but it just feels like I'm watching like a short and just leaving like, oh, that was nice. Like, that's how I feel walking away from Bad Batch. When with Rebels, when you would occasionally get those banger episodes or more every other week, like a Shroud of Darkness episode, you were just left like, I need a whole 2 weeks to digest this. Like you're telling me the next episode is a week away. I need a whole 2 weeks to digest this. So for sure, I am interested into where it's gonna go on, but I think these 2 episodes were just kind of meh to me. I think it was a very lethargic start to the series. I don't know. Austin, are you jealous that you didn't get screeners for the rest of the series? Because they gave me screeners for season 1. They gave me Aftermath and then Cut and Run, but I didn't get screeners this time. So I'm just very sad about that because I want to see what's next. I'm dying to see what's next, but I'm also just like, I really, really, really hope it just delivers. So I'm kind of excited to go week to week experience this. But how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be cool for them to drop it all at once. I feel like with like Rebels and Clone Wars, like you said, Clone Wars is an anthology series. Rebels, not so much, but like also there it's in chronological order. I feel like that's the biggest difference. But there's still like what people call filler. With the Bad Batch, it's much more serialized storytelling, where it's like, on to the next. So I feel like it would be cool to get to see it all at once, because like you said, I feel underwhelmed, not even because it was like short, but just because what happened, like
Yeah.
and at the same time, the fact that this is the premiere really kind of scares me for the rest of the season. You know what I mean? Like I feel like you're supposed to put a little more pizzazz into that, premiere episode, get people hooked. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know who would watch this unless you're like a huge Clone Wars fan, recognize Sereno and stuff. Like I don't really know what like the general audience would get out of these 2 episodes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I tried to tell my brother today to watch Bad Batch, and he's like, I'm and I was like, fair enough. Like there's nothing exciting for there. I was trying to find an angle pitch to be like, oh, you'll really like that. There's just not. And you're right. I do feel like there is a little, they need to pizzazz it a little, just, I don't know. Like there was, besides the ending, like I said, the ending I want to talk about for a second here. The ending I freaking adored. Like that to me was like good. That was a good moment to like, like if it was all streamable right now on Disney Plus, that's my incentive to go, oh, I'm going to skip to the next episode. I want to see what's next. I would click next episode rather than backing out and going back to the main menu. That's the motive for me to go to the next episode. So let's talk about that. Right. Aeden, you see this Admiral Rampart figure come back, after the, it's so confusing to me first of all, this show was poorly marketed, but also we don't know the timeline of how long it is after the fall of Camino. They said months.
It's a couple months. A couple months is what they said.
No, they said months. They didn't put anything before months, so that could mean 8 months. That could mean 2 months.
That's what I was gonna make a fact like that, and I was gonna put like couple. I'm like, wait, they didn't even specify, so I can't say that. So they did say months. Right. Obviously, Omega looks older. Looks like she's still on the same maturity level as she was in probably even worse than the last episodes, just because I felt like I never seen her so desperate diving for treasure. But what?
She wants those blood diamonds.
Oh yeah, she was the blood diamond. So, oh my god. So, but I mean, yeah, we don't know how long this, how long this is, but after the fall of Camino. So I was just there not expecting Admiral Rampart, but there he is. He comes back, and yeah, he made some cool, very threatening, said some threatening things, and um, so tell us what you thought of the scene at the end, and was it your favorite moment of the episode, Aiden? Like, just tell us your assessment.
I thought it definitely sets up an interesting future for the next few episodes. I think the next episode is definitely going to be a big step up. I think it's called like the isolated clone or something. I forget the title of the next episode.
Solitary clone.
Solitary clone. I think we're definitely going to get like a single episode with mostly Crosshair and probably Commander Cody. I think it's going to be a lot like the third episode of last season, War Mantle, where it kind of was like, okay, this is what we're doing. We're getting to see like the dark side of the Empire a little bit more and like that transition for the clones. I think that's what we're going to get for the next episode, and then they're going to build off on that. So I'm excited for the next episode. I think everything with he's a cool villain. Definitely want to see more of him though.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure. I will say, yeah, he immediately when he was brought onto the scene, and what I think about him that is so chilling is that we see him there mingling with in Aftermath, or in the no, not Aftermath. I think in the episodes to follow, you see him there mingling with Lama Su, uh, wait, is it Lamasu's the prime minister, right? And then not Lamasu and then Nalase. And
Mhm.
I thought it was so interesting because right where he sat was Shakti's seat. They're meeting with the two Kaminoans whenever she was in attendance on Camino or governing for the Jedi.
Mhm.
And Tarkin had talked about this in Clone Wars season 5, where he was like, Palpatine wants the Jedi to be relieved of their war duties and stuff, and for new people like me to take over. And that's exactly what we saw happen. And it was just very chilling. And Rampart is that successor of to at least when Camino was around to that successor of Shakti. So I was like, man, that I've always since the get go I thought he was a fascinating villain. So yeah, to see him scheming like this, I'm just like very Imperial like, but I love it because it just adds another thread in the mix. Hopefully this isn't like a Crosshair storyline where it's just elongated and we will only see moments like this like every other 6 episodes. I hope that they do address it in the coming episode or the next one. Because I really want to see where this goes. So yeah, but awesome. What did you think of this final scene, and did it get you excited for the future of Bad Batch?
Yeah, I think it's the one scene that gave me hope for the future because I feel like for a show that's writing is a little lacking. I feel like that was a very interesting sort of maybe not layered but a little more nuanced than a lot of the other scenes because you see how a clone who would pretty much be on the Bad Batch's side uh, is the one that ends up that wants to turn them in. Granted, it's for another reason, but then Admiral Rampart ends up killing that clone because he doesn't want Tarkin to find out. So it's like the villain is helping out the good guys, and the good guy would be helping out the villains. So I think that is a very interesting
Mm-hmm.
little twist at the end there. I really liked that, and it sort of shows that like as we see in Andor, like there's so many different layers and nuance to the Dark Times era when it comes to like the Empire and the way fascism works in the Empire. So it's very interesting to see that happen, especially in this show. It surprised me, and if the rest of the show could live up to that final scene, I'd probably love season 2 so much more. So
Yeah, I'm there with you. I think that's all I have to say about all that. I think next we have questions from people that wanted to share some of the stuff, and I think I saved some of those discussion points still here. So shout out to all y'all on Instagram that sent in your questions or comments, just because it's cool getting feedback from what you guys think. Because yeah, who cares what we think? We want to know what you guys think. So here we go. The first one comes from okay, Star Wars Rebel Scum, and this is actually I'll save this to the end because this is for the future. But Yeah, so this one, I guess Austin kind of talked about here, but Nick Fiornitis says, "Did Crosshair tell Rampart the five died on Camino to protect them? Surely he is losing. He is long back to the Empire by season 2." So yeah, I think Crosshair is definitely back to the Empire. He definitely left that off his report because if not, then Rampart would have been alerted. So I think that's very interesting to Crosshair's story, but we've been told that Crosshair is supposedly doubled down on his decision to stay with the Empire since the fall of Camino. So, Aiden, do you see Crosshair of maybe this story of Bad Batch season 2 going back to that storyline that we explored in season 1 with Crosshair of him being, trying to maybe get a redemption callous moment for him? Do you think we'll get that here? Do you think this is a signal for it? What are your thoughts?
I really hope not. That was a good storyline in the first season, but I kind of hope that we just drop that and like Crosshair is solid on what he wants. He's staying with the Empire because that's like all he really knows. I can see like out of sympathy that he definitely left it off the report, but I kind of hope that he's still. I don't. It'll be interesting to see how they address it in the following episodes.
Yeah. Well, how about you, Austin?
Yeah, I mean, why am I blanking? The question was what?
it was about Crosshair not telling Rampart not filing that the batch was still alive because they reportedly died. So they were asking, Nick was asking, did Crosshair tell Rampart that the five died? And it's I mean, I guess he did say that they died, yeah. But so we're just left with, because again, Rampart didn't know. So I think again that raises some intrigue there. But what happens when Rampart? I feel like there's gonna be a moment where Crosshair, like, I don't know, because I think there's a lot of questions, because last time we saw Crosshair was with the last time Crosshair was seen was by one of his squad members, the elite squad, and she had reported back to Rampart. Trust me, I just watched the finale. She ran out of Camino and she's like, "Yo, Crosshair, he messed up the situation. He's still stuck in there with them." And he's like, "Leave him, they'll all die." And then they open fire. So it's what goes through Rampart's head when Rampart knows that Crosshair was there with him. They open fire in the city. Crosshair's alive, but the five of them didn't, are supposedly dead. Like, that doesn't match up for me. Like, Rampart thinks, oh yeah, it's plausible for this guy to survive, that he was with them, but all five of them died. I don't know.
Listen, don't ruin the only good scene. But yeah, I mean, it is interesting that I didn't really get the vibe that Crosshair would double down in the Empire, but I don't know. I'm very interested, like Aiden said, to see where it goes. I just worry that the writers don't even know, because they hype this idea up all the time when they talk about it. Like, did Crosshair actually take out his chip? They say that he did. So then, what are his intentions? Like, what is it with Crosshair? I just hope it gets explored more. That's all I can really hope for, is that they explain more. I just wish that we wouldn't be on episode 17 and still wondering, like, what's Crosshair's intentions here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So yeah, for sure. I feel like there's like it wasn't closed up nicely. I felt like there was still a little bit of ambiguity there, kind of just left. I don't know, the way it ended. So we'll see. I think this one is a very simple question, but I want to get your opinions because we didn't talk about the costumes. 332nd underscore resistance asks, do you miss the skull and 99 logos? Aiden, I know you like your armor. What do you think? Do you like their new costume designs, or do you miss the old?
I'd say I like. There's both. There's elements of both that I like. I like the red and black color scheme, but also like the hodgepodge, different colors and different armor pieces. Definitely fits like the on the run kind of feel that they're going for with the Bad Batch. Although I do miss the classic look.
I feel
Right.
like they'll return to it once they make the decision to fight. I feel like they will sport that stuff again.
That would be
If
awesome.
Yeah, that would be really cool if they like armor gear back up. But Austin, what do you think? Do you like their new armor?
Yeah, I like it. I always thought that it was kind of trying to show that they're a much more lighthearted team now than before. Like Echo said, they changed, but then again, it's another contradictory thing where it's like cool that the armor shows that they changed, but then Echo comes in and he's like, "We actually haven't changed yet, and I
Right.
just now realized that Omega's the reason that we're in this. So now I have a problem with Omega." No, but I really I like Aiden said, it kind of represents the things that they're doing. Also, that the team now, before it was kind of like these were clones that were made this way on purpose, and now you have Omega, who wasn't part of the original four. You have Echo, who's not part of the original four. It's kind of a team that's coming together, and I really like the colors too. I think they
Yeah.
look cool, and but I actually didn't know until now that they were missing like the skull and crossbones, because I mean, like, you see that stuff on marketing, so it's
Yeah.
interesting
I didn't
that
know
it's
that
gone
either.
now.
So there we go. And real quick, Star Wars Rebel Scum says, what cameos do you think will appear on this season? Austin, let's start off with you.
I definitely think there's going to be a Mandalorian or Book of Boba Fett character for sure. Um,
Rancor writer, Rancor trainer, Rancor
oh
trainer,
yeah,
Danny Trejo. And
that'd
you?
be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be super cool. But I think, I mean, I'm sure that Gunji's not going to be the only youngling that we see. Actually, no, we see Petro in the trailer. So yeah,
Everyone keeps
so
saying that. I don't see him in
Yeah.
he's
there.
he's in the trailer right after.
He
He's in
is.
the first trailer right after Gunji, because I remember seeing him because I like did my reaction and then I looked and I was like, oh shit, that's not just Gunji. So I'm excited to see him, and I wonder if we'll see, maybe we'll see Katuni or whatever.
Is
Um,
Aiden, can you confirm the petrol thing?
Yeah, he's in the trailer.
I promise you, I could pull it up.
Wait,
I have like a whole reel about it on my Instagram.
oh my god, that's actually amazing. What? I love Petro. Petro was my favorite dude in there. That's crazy.
Yeah, no,
I
I
was
promise you,
on
it's
the
in there.
train that I was hoping Kanan Jarrus was actually Petro. I was like, he changed his name. He changed his name after Order 66. It's Petro in disguise. That is crazy
Right.
if that's Petro.
Yeah, it's in the shot right after Gunji, and they're all standing. He's like standing right next to Omega. So I think that's one that I think will actually benefit the story of the Bad Batch, is showing these Jedi younglings, because
Yeah.
now you get more people for Omega to like further her development of meeting new people, kind of
Like
being
a
able
hero
to
thing.
build her own personality. Exactly.
Right.
Also,
Um,
more shared trauma.
yeah,
The
yeah,
truth.
that is true. So yeah, I think that'll be interesting to see, and also like the continuation of what happened with Order 66 and their relationship with the Jedi. I think that'll be a good cameo.
All right, cool.
Maybe in a little bit more than a cameo.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Well, I really hope we really don't. I really want them to hone in on who these characters are and what they represent. I really want to get to know more of them rather than cameo of the week. I really hope that what was shown in the trailer is kind of it. I don't think this is a really big season because we're covering Commander Cody and what happened with him after Order 66. So I really hope they just like focus on that and know that they have a very special gem in their hands, and it's like you're gonna be able to tell this story, a canon version of this story. So do it well. Don't be distracted about getting Cad Bane up in there, or some other Book of Boba Fett character, Mandalorian character, like, or even from future shows like Ahsoka, because they're also doing the cloning stuff that was teased from Mandalorian. Apparently, I'm like, what are we?
Oh yeah.
I'm a little tired in days, but anyways, that's our breakdown. That's our discussion. Not really breakdown. This was just a discussion and reaction, more of a reaction to the Bad Batch, because we're not gonna sit here and highlight every single scene like some people. Oh my god, that was the same cargo ship that was from Rebels. Oh my god, that's insane. We're not here to do that. Like it's just a simple reaction talk. So that's the conversations that we like around here. So Aiden, out of 10, what would you rate this episode?
I give it a solid like 7.5, 8, probably seven
All
and a
right.
half.
Austin, how about you? A little too high for you?
I don't mean to be like a hater, but I'm gonna have to go with like 4.5 out of 10, maybe 4.5.
I respect it though.
I didn't I think 4 actually, because I disliked more than I liked in these 2 episodes.
Yeah. I would have to give it like, I don't like being harsh, but probably like a 5.5 out of 10, or if I'm being really optimistic and really choosing everything that I just like and looking only at that, I'd probably give it a 6. Just because I kind of feel like they bamboozled me with, oh my god, they're ransacking Dooku's home, and it just turned out to be like empty fan service. Like, oh look, we're in Dooku's, we're in his house, and we're just gonna run around it. I'm just like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I was
thought,
just
that
happy
point.
that- I was just
yeah.
happy that Tech got some dialogue.
No,
Yeah.
that's true. And
That
I mean,
wasn't.
I like the old man and how his perspective of Dooku and stuff. That was really cool. I feel like that'll make some great legacy update on Dooku, post Clone Wars. Like that's pretty cool. Like it was kind of eerie going in there thinking like, oh man, this guy was just slaughtered not even like a year ago, and he was just slaughtered by Anakin above Coruscant. He's dead. Like that's crazy. Like who knew when the last time it was that he was hanging out there taking a call from Sidious? Like that was it. He left that and he's dead. He's not coming back. So it was kind of eerie going in there, but I kind of wish we got like something. I thought they were gonna find something there that was like an old message from Dooku or something, just or looking up his messages with Palpatine. I thought it was gonna be something deeper, but that's all right. But anyways, yeah, I'd give it like a 5.5 or 6 out of 10. But that does it for our Bad Batch discussion here. We might do one next week. We may not. We'll see, because next week could just be another, maybe like a Rancor episode, and we're gonna be like, well, that was it. That was it, folks. There'll be a Rancor fighting Commander Cody. But
if Danny Trejo's in it, we're covering it.
we're covering, and we're gonna do a whole season's worth. But Aiden, where can the good people find you when you're not watching Bad Batch and watching the awesome Tech do all his tech stuff?
They can find me over on Instagram at Darth Deacon. I'm just coming back this year. Been on a little bit of a hiatus, but getting back and doing some posts now. So happy to
Awesome.
be back.
You guys are not all that abandoned, so he's back. And Austin, when you're not also, oh yeah, actually, no, I was about to say when you're not podcasting, no, plug that stuff in. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at startupwars.editor, my main platform. And then, as Mike said, I have my podcast on my YouTube channel, Austin SWE. I post my own videos, just posted a cool Bad Batch video. So maybe check that out. And yeah, podcast stuff. It's called This is the Way Seekers. And you can find that on my YouTube, or you can find it on any audio platform.
And link in description
Link
to
in
all these
description.
guys.
Yes.
You guys, as always, can find me every week on the Star Wars Exchange podcast. We have we're not gonna be covering Bad Batch. Like we are actually, Ari and I were supposed to do a premiere episode, but he decided, nah, and he'll explain to you guys why. So I was like, I actually want to cover this moment of Bad Batch and see where we go. So if it turns out, we'll continue doing stuff like this here on the All Star Wars YouTube page. But yeah, and then also you guys can find me at all_Star Wars on Instagram and Twitter and all that. So until next time, guys, may the force be with you. Adios.
Bye.